The main part will be Chinese traditional cultural systems. That's the main part. It's going to be around 20 minutes. And then we talk about dilemmas, cultural dilemmas with conflicts and some ideas or some impression of British people perceive the Chinese. And hopefully we can provide some possible solutions to end. Let's just start with introduction. So actually all the cultures and civilizations are affected by a lot of factors. And one of them, the most important thing that I would think, is the impact of geography. So let's look at the China's map. In the north, we've got desert. In the west, we've got desert and Himalaya range. And in the south and east, we've got the ocean. So I would think this is really an enclosed environment which separates China from most of the part of the world, which gives us a peaceful 3,000 to 4,000 years of development. So it forms all different parts of the culture. Now let's look at the history. So we're going to just introduce very briefly of the Asian China, because you can see China is the only left agriculture civilization in this world. So if we talk about history, it's a long one. So we're going to just talk about the one which I think is the foundation for Chinese culture. So let's start from Xia dynasty. This dynasty is actually not really evidenced in a way. So we call it legendary Xia. And after that, we have Shang. And Shang is a tribal federation. And then after Shang, we've got Zhou. In Zhou, we have a lot of people. They divided into Western Zhou and Eastern Zhou, as you can see from here. That's about 600 years. And they built feudalism over here. And by the end of Zhou, there's a lot of laws. They're fighting with each other. And then eventually Qing united the whole country and built the first centralized government. And Qing is very short. It's only 14 years. And after that, Han came over and take over, really established the centralized government. And we just put this over because in a minute we'll probably have to refer to history. So we have Xia, Shang, Zhou, and Qing, and Han. Now let's come to the main influence of Chinese culture. As you can see, over the more than 400 years in history, there's a lot of influence affect the formation of Chinese culture. And I'm just going to talk about the major four. First one, Taoism. They deployed imperial approach. So the ideal world of the Taoism is to, actually Lao Tzu is the founder of Taoism, is to go back to the matrilineal clan stage, which is really a primitive stage. And the second one is the biggest one, Confucianism. And Confucius, really advocated the kingly approach, which go back to the Zhou dynasty, which is over here, because in the beginning of Zhou, the Duke of Zhou has developed a complete political framework that's defined almost everything of people's everyday life. So basically, you follow the rules. And Confucius thinks that's the perfect framework for the whole society to keep in order, in structure, and in peace. The next one is legalism. Like imperial approach and kingly approach, which is quite mild and with humanity, legalism deployed despotic rules, which basically means that irregular people with force to reach the nation's target. The last one on the list is Buddhism. Has a very big effect in Chinese culture. They teach people about reincarnation, karma, and explain why life is painful. Let's just go into a little more details in all of this. So let's come to Taoism. Taoism starts with Lao Tzu. That's one of the method that people say, but the other schooling to say that probably other people as well. But we're going to focus on Lao Tzu and his book, Dao De Jing. So it's a very profound book. I have concluded in a few points. Firstly, the ideal world of Lao Tzu is to go back to the very primitive stage, as I told you before, with very small scales, with very little intervention from the rulers in the small village, just basically go back to the beginning of where human development starts. And the secondly, Tao is what Taoists should pursue as ultimate goal. So eventually, if you're really good Taoist you should really get Tao. And Tao is similar to the universal law, but not exactly. And Tao should follow nature. Tao is so unbiased and is ahead of everything in the world, and is just eternal. But it looks like similar to the owning God of Christian, but it's not exactly the same, because Taoists, they are atheists. They don't really believe in God who created the world, and they are not really personalized God. And the third one, return to the origin. So if you want to follow Tao, you should go back to the really beginning, original state of innocence. It's kind of like the spiritual state of the initial singularity before the Big Bang. Okay, we use a metaphor. Okay, everything, if you're more primitive, if you are more intact, and if you are an invention from a human being, then you are closer to Tao. Okay. The next one, with Tao, everything evolves with repetitive cycles, like yin and yang. So yin and yang, they convert from and into each other. A typical example, if you think you are very unlucky for the last few weeks, and that will be your starting point of the next round of luck. So that's a typical example of that. Okay. The next one, they say it's doing nothing to change. What it is because everything evolves or develops with its own internal rules, and any external intervention will actually disturb the development of whatever. So what you should do is, you don't do anything against the rule. So if you want to achieve anything, find out the rule, follow the rule, accept it, but don't do anything, from your, out from the blue and from your mind. And if you just let things develop, everything will achieve in its own pace. So that's what it is. Virtue of softness and emptiness. So if you really want to find the rules and get most out of it, go into the stage of softness and emptiness. And one typical example is, think about a cup. You have a cup, that's something, but if it's empty inside, that's emptiness. It's only when the cup is empty, then you can make some use of it. But when it's full, you can't do anything because it's already full. So that's the virtue of the emptiness. And softness, because yin and yang changes and evolves in circles. So if you're in the soft status, then the next stage we're going to be full of strength. So that's why Lao Tzu emphasizes on the softness and emptiness. And when Lao Tzu comes to the individual cultivation, he emphasizes a lot into a piece of individuals. Oh, yes. Okay. Basically, you can achieve that by meditation and keep yourself in a tranquil state. Okay, that's how much Lao Tzu and Tao Te Ching. Let's come to the next slide, which is Confucius. One thing I have to make clear is Confucianism is a combination of all the development, and it started from Confucius, but there's a lot of development and adaptation. So on this slide, I'm going to just talk about Confucius and the Analects. Analects is a book that was recorded by Confucius' disciples of his thinking was. So let's conclude in very simple few points, but this interest, you can just really spend your life on it. Okay. First one is the golden mean. Confucius' golden mean means that you should walk just right in the middle and be harmonized with the environment. And this is the ultimate principle for Confucius doctrine. So you can't really go, if you learn something really good, but you can't really go too far. If you go too far, it's actually breach this law. Okay. The purpose of Confucius, all his teaching is to restore the propriety of what the Duke of Zhou has defined or specified. Basically, is the order of that you respect who you should respect and who you should love. They have orders. They have levels. Okay. And then next one, the foundation. How do you actually achieve that with self-discipline? How should you discipline yourself? The first one, the foundation, is filial piety, which is you loyal, you respect your parents, and that's the core. Of course, dad is more important than mom. That you got your cousin, you got your siblings, and you got your cousins, you got your uncles, and you got all these different layers, and there are hierarchies from the top to bottom, so it depends on which religion they are on. Okay, so this is the foundation of that. And Confucius said, if you are filial to your parents, and there's very few opportunity or chance that you will be a rebellion. Okay, so that's one really foundation to keep everything in order. Okay, next thing is benevolence. Benevolence is a requirement of Junzi, which is the virtuous men. If they're actually the ruling class in the whole community. So when you are promulgate any measurement to rule your people, you should do that with consideration and mercy. That's what it is. Okay, of course, it's loving people, but it's really more towards the requirement for those in governing. And next one, loyalty. Loyalty is actually a step up from filial piety. Because if you are loyal to your parents, you're respecting your parents, now go at one more step to the king and emperors. And there's other explanation, loyalty of Confucius is to be loyal to yourself, follow your heart. This is another, explanation. The last one, but not least, forgiveness. So this one is really it's very important factor in Confucius framework, because without being specific, it's very hard to be, benevolence and others. So this is a means to achieve all that. Basically, put yourself in other people's shoes. Okay, so this is a brief intro for the Confucius and the analects. But as I said, that is over the 2,000 years really. So if we look at three parts, just like very briefly. The first one is mandate of heaven. So Zhou, when it overthrew Shang, is actually justified that with mandate of heaven, because they just tell people that Shang is already lost the mandate because he did something wrong. That's why we're here. So it's just justified for the and when it comes to Han Dynasty, which is over here, because Qin is very short. Okay, when it comes to Han, have embedded the whole mandate of heaven into the political system and build up the paternal hierarchy system. Okay, you can see mandate can change hands if you're not really follow what you're supposed to do. And the second point, legitimacy of emperor. It's very related, but if you look at details, the emperor is the son of heaven. So it's kind of like anything happens, it's a conversation between the son and father. Heaven is slightly different from God, as I just told you before, because heaven is not a personalized God. It's basically or is a collection of all the beliefs. But you have the godly filial piety, because if you don't really listen to the Father, which is heaven, then people can overthrow you, because the mandate has changed hands. So that's really the effect for the ruling class. And when it comes to the community rituals, we have left this topic on that, but we'll just classify, these three parts. The first one, ancestor worship, because Confucius grouped all the people according to the paternal. So your extended family or even the village, they might come from the same ancestors, and that really formed the foundation of the whole community. Emphasize very much on the self-cultivation. I think that's the thing to everyone to stay in your position and do what you're supposed to do. If anything goes wrong, any conflicts, stop blaming others. Before that, check into yourself. Okay, that's the way to self-cultivate as well as maintaining bodily order. And the last one, role play. I think we do a lot of role play. I mean, modern China, but in ancient China, depends on the position you are. Different occasions, social occasions, you do different actions. You have to make sure you wear the right thing, your action, your bow is right, your angle is right, and that's a bit like a role play. But this is really system the Duke of Zhou has created to keep everything in order. Okay. This reduced a lot of conflicts actually, violence, because when there's conflict, when you don't really feel like happy or being look at the system. So are you doing the right role play in the right position? And that resolves a lot of problem and keep this whole community very stable. Okay, so that's that. It looks like it's very not quite for young people, quite restrictive. But Confucianism has been stayed in China or been put in a high position in China for over 2,000 years. There are some reasons behind it. So firstly, we are is an agricultural civilization until the last century. So we have the basic conflicts of exploded population and very limited farming land. So if you just imagine now, modern China, we have over 22% of the population of the whole world, but we only have 7% of farming land in the whole world. So the imminent problem is a contradiction between the population and the farming resources. And Confucianism provided answer to resolve that problem. So that's really, really thing. And the second thing is, because if you're doing farming, you have to settle down at some place instead of moving around like nomadic. The position Confucianism has confined for people, because what you're doing is depends on the position in your community. If you move around too often, you wouldn't be able to build that. You're set. So that's why people are planted on the ground. Okay. The third one, team collaboration is really, really vital for agriculture civilization, because we have so many people and we need to feed so many people with limited land. So to achieve the productivity, we need collaborate as a group. So that's why the team collaboration, we're reducing the competition and we are reducing the waste of the resources. And that helped a lot in building the paternal hierarchy. With the hierarchy, yes, it's in the cost of a group of people, okay, a group of people. For example, women and those men at the bottom. Okay, it's really beneficial for the people, the men on the top. But it's built a very stable community to allow everything to develop. So that's really key for the last bit, which is helps the government to have very strong control of this government or on its people. So that's how much for Confucianism for today. This is a really, really topic, so you can spend your time to do more research. Okay, and let's come to the next part, legalism. So with legalism, they are not really as obvious as Taoism and Confucianism, which you can easily find a founder. We have a lot of different people to be in this field, but they do a bit here and there. So there's two people I really want to emphasize over here, which is Shang Yang and Han Feizi. Okay, Shang had a reform in the kingdom of Qing, and Han Feizi kind of like summarized, write a book about the legalism practice in Women's Day period, which is Zhou. Okay. Legalism is different from modern legal system. Modern legal system, we have democracy and we serve majority of people. But legalism at that time, they serve the governors. They're trying to make sure the country or the nation is rich, but people is the tool for that, is a resource for them. Okay? They assume, legalism assume people, human nature in general is evil or is not really good, it's bad. So we need very strong control by the central government to force them to do things. Otherwise they would be lazy. That's what their thought is. And then purpose of legalism is very straightforward, to enrich the country. Because people are evil, so to reach that target of enrich the country, you have to wake the people, humiliate them, control them, so they can listen, or they can be less of a threat to the governance. And to achieve this goal, so morality definitely is not on the top of the list. So it's a listing that they will consider. There's two books I think you might be of interest because they are kind of the equivalent of that. It's written by Italian. And the only difference is 1800 years apart. So Xiangyang's book are written quite a long time ago, but they are quite popular for a period of time. I mean, for the book of Lord Shang, it's been read by governors for the last 2,000 years by the governors, but this probably a few hundred years. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the main of Xiangyang's reforms, so you probably have a bit more impression about what legalism is. So I list out 5. The first thing is a household registration system. So before Xiangyang, the extended family, the big family, they lived together. But when Xiangyang came along, he said every male adult, once you become an adult, you're going to be identified as a separate household. And that's the basis for the tax and coffee, which is unpaid labor. Okay, just give the Qing more control as people. And also they've got a very strict system, which is 5 or 10 households, they form a unit. If one of them, any one is unit, 5 or 10 family, they breach the law or they do anything illegal, and the other people is not reporting it, everyone in this unit will be punished. And the punishment can be something like chop your nose off, chop your ears off, chop legs off, your hands off. So it's really, really brutal. Okay. So next one is rewarding in the military marriage. So the purpose of Qing at that time is only 2. One, to have wars, to win the wars, let's put it that way. And second is farming, to produce resources. So to encourage the military side, they're honored, but basically what the benefit is, you are exempted from some of the tax or coffee, depends on how many enemies you kill. And they actually collect the ears, left ear or right ear. So you can't really have the head all the time, you just have ears, to count how many people you kill, and then they reward you with the right level of the areas, and then you can be exempted for certain taxes. And the next one, focus on agriculture and surplus trading. You all understand why we need to focus on agriculture. So you can get rich by farming. And then if you're a businessman, then you're stressed. Basically, businessman is going around and disrupting local community stability. So it's really encouraged. Basically, if you're born as a citizen, but if you're born in Qing, then everyone in this country is not allowed to do business. They use people from other countries to do that. Okay. Next one. So the formula, the law system of Qing, as I probably mentioned it, they have very, very hand. So this is a mean of control people, so people are scared and they listen. Okay, but they have very light reward. So if you're doing good, they say, okay, that's fine. But if they do something bad, well, you did wrong. Okay, that's what they do. Okay, is to burn books and bury scholars. So a lot of people think that was done by the first emperor. Actually started from Xiangyang, probably there's other legalist practitioners as well. So in legalism countries, don't need to think. You shouldn't read, you shouldn't challenge, you just do what I tell you. Okay, so that's what it's like in Qing's life. Okay, it's very brutal, but it works. So it helped Qing to unite the country and become the first emperor. But that's also the reason why Qing only stayed for 14 years, because it's just when the war has already gone, they all conquered, all the resentment of people, they don't really have anywhere to go. So the only way they can go is to overthrow the governance. So that's what they did. Okay, let's look at Buddhism. So Buddhism started to brought in China in the Han Dynasty. And after that, a few hundred years, they prosper, and then in Tang Dynasty, which is, a century, they actually really flourished. Okay. Okay, second 2 slides, please. Yeah, another one. Yeah. So the reason why Buddhism flourished that time is just because there's lots of wars, and the political system is in a chaos, and nobody really control people like before. With legalism and Confucianism, people have more freedom to choose whatever religion is available at that time. Buddhism came in, so it's just right timing. The next one is Buddhism and spiritual needs for the poor and downtrodden, because Confucianism literally is providing for the governing class, with those who are more educated, who are ruling. Of course, there are influence for the poor people as well, but in general, normal people, they are really deprived from spiritual support. So Buddhism just came in and filled the blank. That's just perfect. And then the monks are really clever in marketing. They just marketing right thing, which is really embedded into what we already have in China, which is, for example, filial piety, respecting parents and seniors, and also when it comes to self-cultivation, is actually very, I think it's overlap a bit with Taoism as well. So you go back to the original state and find your true self. So that's really like overlapping. That's what, let's put it the other way, because Chinese people at that time only take whatever they think is right. Okay, whatever is hard, just live it, okay, and what they right. Okay, the last one is Buddhism actually helped a lot with Chinese culture or civilization to develop in terms of the language. The express that we're still using is actually brought from Buddhism at that time. And in terms of art, we have sculpture, we have painting, we have poem. A lot of them are affected by Buddhism at that time. Okay. Now, selected different class in different ways. So for common people, well, it tells them life is full of pain. That's the reason, because of karma, because of what you did from last life. And then you got a chance to go to pure land after death. So you got hope. So you don't accept that because you have hope. Okay. And then and next life, they're all hope, part of hope. How do you do that? You do suchen chanting, pray to the Buddhas, or pay them with your going to the temple and all that stuff. And the other really good one is, the life is another possible career path. Become monks. In that way, you don't have to pay anything. You don't have to work hard as farmers. You just stay there and just chanting your santran and do the bow down and just cultivate yourself. And in history, there's a few times they're taken by the government to not really kill, but force them to go back to the world life instead of staying as monks, because they just consume too much money, and then they don't really pay any tax. And for literates, which is those who are educated and who read books and learning, I would say they don't really believe that, but they are more focused on this part, which is they have more time to relax. So they have inspiration from Buddhism for art and poem, and the Zen Buddhism, which is flourished in Tang Dynasty. They help them to achieve enlightenment, and which connects you to, they have opportunity to retreat to self-cultivation and meditation. And if they're really, really good with meditation, they can go nirvana to get out of the cycle of reincarnation, and they become a Buddha instead of being, this painful life again and again. Okay, so that's the effect of Buddhism. So that much I'm going to talk about for the main influence in forming Chinese culture. We're going to have a solution over here. Of course, this is just like a brief summary. Okay. When we talk about Chinese culture, especially, what's in mind is actually dancing, food, Chinese painting. Yes, they are very fancy, but the culture actually means those reasoning behind the behaviors and the beliefs behind it, reason behind it, which we just covered some parts in Taoism, Confucianism, legalism, and Buddhism. Okay, and China, as the only survived ancient civilization, we are cultivated in depth in so many different elements of our culture. Okay, emperors. Well, I think emperors in the whole world, every government, they want to civilization, and emperors focus civilization so good, so deep. The combination of Confucianism and legalism to have a balance, because legalism is really what it works, but if you go too far, you'll be strong very easily. So they use more people-friendly Confucianism to balance it out. So if you balance well, that's perfect. If you don't, things go wrong, and what happens. Okay, next one. Chinese people, strictly speaking, we don't really have a religion. That means we don't really have a God who created the world. Okay, we from some legends, but not really from the first beginning when the God has created light and the world and more pragmatic traditions. So we focus on this life only. If we want to be rich, we go to temple or wherever, we pray for that purpose. Okay, so we only focus on this life. Literatists, especially for those when they are at a good time, when they feel things in control, they will go to the root of Confucianism and hedonism. Okay, Confucianism. Things go wrong or go in the hard times, they can retreat back easily to Buddhism and Taoism just to do self-cultivation. So that's how much I have for the Chinese traditional culture part. And let's look at the next, which is the cultural dilemmas that of experience. Okay, I think this is a really interesting part. If I say anything, just add it up at the end. Okay. The thing, thank you and please. Some of you have heard of my talk on that before. I'm very amazed how much thank you and please Chinese English people say over here when I first arrived over here. Because in China, we don't really verbally express our gratitude, especially for the people who we think we're close with. If I say thank you to my mom, she would be worried. What's wrong with you? Okay, so I'm still trying to learn to thanks after no, because I would just say no, but I know you should say no thanks. Okay, next one, we're done. I think children in this country, including my little one, okay, they are spoiled by praises for very mild achievement. Look at that. We told we should be humble, modesty, that's the top of us. So I have this ability to agree and accept the praise I receive, because what's going on in my mind is, am I really that good? I wasn't really sure. And how do I respond? I really don't know. Okay, the next one, Bill, please. I have to admit, it's much easier to go Dutch, but that's not what we do in China. In China, we fight to treat people, and next time, my friends will fight back to treat me. So it's a matter of faith to treat people or being treated, because this is propriety that we're talking about. Okay, and also it requires a lot of skills, a variety of skills. Firstly, you have to memorizing, when or how many people went for which front. You have to count the price per head. You have to think about what the best way to return the favor and what the best approach to the return. Shall I treat them individually or collectively? Now, after I start splitting the bills, I'm losing the skills. I need to go somewhere else to train it up. It's a cost, isn't it? Okay, and the next one, shops close on Sundays. It's getting better now, I have to say, okay? But when I first came in the UK, my plan was, I'm going to do a big grocery shopping on Sunday. And I ended up having 2 pieces of toast in the kitchen. I appreciate the work-life balance, but I really would also enjoy the convenience of the shops open until 10 o'clock every day. But luckily, we're better now, at least a few hours on Sundays. Okay, next one, Feng. When things go wrong, especially with service, what went on in my mind is like, okay, yes, I should raise a complaint, but did I actually exhaust my own resources? Did I actually think about a few solutions? And by the end of it, I just resolved the problem myself. But now I realize complaining is an English tradition, which is really good in a way to release your pressure for your personal well-being, and also is a really good opportunity to find the common interest with your colleagues and your friends. So I'm in the process of learning it. Okay, it took me a while, but I'll get there. Okay, next one, political. Okay, actually complaints and politicus together. After weather, complaining about weather, and sports, politicus is the third topic, I would think. Yeah, am I right? Yeah. Normally, I'd be very quiet in those occasions. On one hand, I'm not really knowledgeable about it, and I don't really have a good sense of it. And on the other hand, I was thinking, it's none of my business, and they wouldn't pay me for giving my opinions. And furthermore, they wouldn't listen to me. So why should I talk about that? Okay, the next one, food. You all know that we are proud of food. Not those ones from takeaway shops, they are adapted to Chinese food. What I mean is a packed lunch that we brought to the office. Those require microwave. Sometimes, a lot of times, the smell is very nice and causes jealousy. But the other times, it can get a bit awkward and unpleasant. If it comes to inviting friends to my house, we use chopsticks, which is challenging for British people, right? And then, if my mom were there, she would show her hospitality by serving you some food on your plate. And you can imagine, if that food happened to be your least favorite, that's an awkward situation. Okay. And that's why, call me Roger. I got my friend Roger over here. I feel very awkward or guilty even every time when I call him Roger, because in China, we decide how to call people according to the position you are, social status, the relationship that they are with you. For Roger, at least I should call him uncle, if not grandpa. So even he is not my relative, that's how I should call him. In China, we have very complicated relative chart to tell you how you should call your relatives. Sometimes I still get confused, but it's a good opportunity to train your IQ, isn't it? So let's look at this chart and be aware of that. Okay, so this is how you call in English, and that's how many varieties you have, and that's not including the sequence. So for example, if you got your as a few brothers and sisters, then you have to sequence them with bigger one, second one, third one, fourth one. And you have to remember whose wife is whose, which one. So good practice. You can find that online later. Okay, now let's to the impression from other cultures. My choice is impression of Chinese, but I think Chinese is really narrow because what I mean, Chinese is not Chinese just coming from China, but also Chinese from all varieties or anybody who actually influenced Chinese culture to some extent. So if I use my language wrong, but you know what I mean. So Chinese people is like everyone who are influenced by Chinese culture. The first one is Tiger Mom, and I was told I'm one of them. To some extent, I'm proud of it. Okay, not to some extent, because that just shows me how effective I am, how result-oriented I am, and it works most of the time. The only thing I need to do is just reduce the aggressive part a little bit, not too much, a little bit, and then I can become a cat mom instead. Okay, trying to really justify myself, especially for the negative part, and probably committing from the Chinese code, the system part from with impression. Second one, quiet. This I mean, I have to say I'm the optional. Okay, Chinese in general were quiet in team meetings, in company, or with a group of people. Yeah, not me, but not Chinese people. It's because that in Taoism, we tell people that we need to go back to the original state, okay? Tranquil, quiet, calm down. And in Confucianism, we're told to not challenge the authorities, so zip up. And in legalism, no comments at all. You shouldn't think even. And in Buddhism, you just accept the suffering, if there is, okay? So just that. Especially in Confucianism, if we emphasize on doing things instead of talking, if you have to talk, make sure it's 100% right, not 100%, but as perfect as possible. Okay, so you see a lot of Chinese colleagues, they are not talking, but they are thinking. There's a lot of things going on, and the only thing they are doing there and before speaking up is I have to make sure that I'm 100% right. And by the time they get it out, time has gone. The golden spot has gone. So that's this part. Rude. What were rude? Accepting that I don't say thanks and please, sometimes forgetting. I didn't mean to. Also, told that we're quite direct in giving instructions. And sounds a little bit like condescending or too authoritative. But really, it's a language pattern. I had from my friends that she went to a Chinese supermarket, and the shop's assistant asked him, what? This sounds really rude, isn't it? Instead of, how can I help? And the fact is, we literally translate word by word from Chinese for this context. So what we really want is just get things done. And we didn't really think too much about how you feel, but just get it done, be efficient. And that's the language pattern that we have. So we didn't really mean to hurt you, because we are also polite. When I heard that, I think what my friend meant is that we tell a lot of white lies. It's just, he has rephrased it in a nicer way, being very polite. It says, when we come to the point of saying no, like refusing people, or asking for a favor, we tend to go very indirect, which requires our friend a lot of time and effort to figure out the real intention of the speaker. But this is a really good opportunity again to train your IQ, isn't it? Yeah? And that's why that makes us very clever. We have a stereotype that Chinese people knows everyone, knows how to cook, knows how to play table tennis, knows very good at maths. Yes, we are. But we are clever, but not really too much difference from the rest. I think the reason being is just we spend a lot more time on practicing Chinese characters and doing the drills in maths. If you think about Chinese character, yes, it's pictogram. It trains the other side of the brain. So yes, Chinese people are brains are more developed, more balanced, but not really clever, because all the results come from our hard working. Yeah, next one. Okay, Chinese people, are more or less with a mission to glorify your parents or your ancestors. My generation, not this one, it's okay. We should really work hard. And everyone else around us, we're all working hard. We don't really feel that much a difference or painful. We just go for it. So that's impression comes along, and we just keep, this is in the genes. We can't really stop working, I think, in a way. But of course, having said that, things have changed, okay? Like one of the are different now, but in Chinese blood, in few decades ago, everyone's really working hard, and you probably get the impression of Chinese people working hard. Next one, respect seniors. It's hard not to respect seniors after you have been influenced for 2,000 years in this hierarchy system, isn't it? You have to look at person and say, oh, yeah, how old is, or she, and then you can kind of decide, oh, how, what degree of bowing you do, and, all kind of things, and which orders they have said. Japanese and the Koreans, they are even so, because they haven't gone through the, like in China, we had a century ago. So that's just news over the 2 years. Okay, and the last one, friendly. I don't really have to explain too much about that, right? We are really open to, for everyone to know Chinese culture, and we're really, really friendly. So that's it, I don't have to explain too much. Okay, so that's the fusions between cultures. And if we just look at, let's say possible solutions. Next page, please. So we can see what we do together to make the harmony even better. We are really lucky in this world, or in this land. We are allowed to keep the cultural identity as well as merge with other cultures to work on diversity and inclusion. So we do, we're more aware of the difference and the mutual understanding to get better. And also, in nowadays, we can see the agricultural civilization, which stands by Chinese, and the Western one, which stands for the industry and commercial civilization. We both face a globalized problem or crisis, we have poverty, COVID, we have possible AI, we have global warming, and all these things cannot be resolved by a single country, any country. Doesn't matter how strong you are, because we are a global human being problem. So we just work collaboratively and find a solution to resolve the global crisis together. Now, let's look at what Chinese communities can, and the British community can support us. So first of all, I think we need to speak up more. That's for the Chinese people, because I know that you've got so many good things or ideas in your mind. Just speak up. You think, oh, this one is so simple, maybe, you know, I know that, but they might not. So it doesn't harm you if you speak up. And I think for the British communities, we, as Dan has just said, we have language patterns, and we have this, you know, mentality in our mind. So you need to allow us a bit more time and encourage us to talk more. Okay. Now, some folkmen, they probably don't really speak up because they think that English is not good enough. But really, language should be a barrier. Yes, it's not really that fluently, but at least you can gradually get in some meanings out. So I think the barrier is really speak out with confidence. Just go for it. And here, we really like open acting, isn't it? So we just need to encourage the conversation. Just start with it. Just, you know, we're all just, you know, fine. You know, so it's just a lot of encouragement we should have, and encourage yourself and encouragement from the English community as well. Okay, next one. Chinese people, we know we already have a lot of Chinese associations that we're working out outreach for people, but what we can do is we can do even more and share resources and have more activities to get people to know us, and for the counterpart, it would be great if I have more curiosity in culture and embrace the difference that we have. And that's what a lot of people, you get impression of China or the Chinese people or Chinese culture from the media or from some stereotypes. I think as a Chinese people over here, we can provide a more picture for people to understand us. And it's not just about some activities of dancing or, you know, that thing, or the news from the selective schools. You can come to us and we can give you all aspects of our life. And then I would challenge British people, why not to learn a bit Chinese language and a bit Chinese activities, or even more appealing Chinese cooking? Probably that's more attractive. Yeah? Okay, how much for today? I think I've talked a lot. Do we still have a few minutes for questions, or
yes,
that's it?
It's time for Q&A if you have any questions.